bunch of questions from you guys from my social media, asking me about questions about motherhood, marriedhood, and just myself personally and budgeting as a young couple. So let's hop into it. And for you guys wondering, Kinsey's right on the ground next to me playing in our room while I get this video done, so let's just hope she stays calm, cool, and collected. Okay, so the first question that I was asked is, where do you do most of the shopping for Kinsey and how do you budget that? So honestly, I do most of my shopping from this thrift store that has high-end baby clothes called Once Upon a Child here in Texas. I don't know if they have any in California or any other state, but they have brands such as Gap, Old Navy, even Juicy Couture, anything Carter's. They have a whole selection, and most of the clothes aren't even used. So that's definitely where I get majority of her clothes. So I do get her clothes from Old Navy or Gap online during special deals. And the next question is, what is your favorite thing about being a mama? And I think that there's two things that are my favorite. The first one being that when you have a baby with someone that you love and who's your husband, I think it's really cool to see your baby, because the entire time you're pregnant, you try to imagine what they're going to look like, and you're never going to imagine fully what it's going to look like. And then when the baby comes out and you can see mannerisms of your husband or yourself, or they act like one of you guys, it's like the craziest thing. And then secondly, my favorite thing is that Kinsey finds like full comfort in just me, like in my face. And I think that's the coolest thing, because when you're an adult or in life, you don't really bring that much joy to people like fully, like where they depend on you completely. And Kinsey depends on me completely, and I think that's cool. Okay, and the next one is, what is your favorite vacation? And for me, my favorite vacation is going on a cruise every single year. Ever since me and Nick got engaged, we've been doing cruises every single year. That's something that we budget in the beginning of the year, and it's something we make a priority. And it's a really easy vacation to take your baby, no matter what age she is. And did you have a natural birth? Did you receive the epidural, and did you like it? So yes, I had a vaginal delivery, and I did have the epidural. However, with my epidural, it worked for the actual labor pains in my stomach and my back, but then by the time it came time to push, it wore off completely. So I felt everything down there, but like honestly guys, it's not bad. People try to make it sound so horrible. Literally 2 minutes after she came out, I told Nick, I'll do this again, hands down. How old were you when you got married? I was 19 when I got married, and I got married in May of 2016, and then I had Kinsey the following June of 2017. What are the pros and cons of being a stay-at-home mom? I think the pros are limitless, honestly. It's awesome. You get to see your baby every single day. I couldn't imagine taking my baby to a daycare with strangers, and I couldn't really even think about leaving her with my mom or my grandma or anyone, and it's not because they would be bad. That's not what I'm saying, but I just wouldn't want to leave her, like to have responsibility on somebody else. And let's see, a con, I guess the only con I could find is that when you are going through some financial issues, it'd be nice, like sometimes you kind of are like, man, I wish I could kind of take some strain off my husband. Okay, the next question is, does your husband support you being a stay-at-home mom? Yes, completely. Right after we got married and we started discussing babies, that was the first thing that was on our list that we both agreed on. He thinks it's important to have a mama at home, so very blessed with that. And if you had the chance, would you get a part-time job? No. Straight up no, I wouldn't. What was the hardest part of your pregnancy? The hardest part for me is that I was on the very brim of having gestational diabetes. So my doctor did prescribe that I'd have to test my blood every 4 hours, and that happened to me around, I think like 30 weeks pregnant. So I definitely had to do it for 8 weeks, and it was horrible. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, and I developed a horrible needle phobia from it. So that sucked. And did you go through postpartum? I guess you could consider it postpartum, but it wasn't the normal depression that you hear of, like where you reject your baby or you're just sad that you're a mom now, or it was that I was extremely clingy to my baby. I didn't want anyone else to hold her. Even Nick, I was kind of like, okay, now give her back. And I had a lot of people around me after I had her, and I think that was a really difficult thing because I had to literally immediately share my baby after she came out, and that sucked for me personally. And was Kensington planned? Yes, entirely she was planned. We decided to start having babies, trying to have babies right after we got married, about like 2 months after we got married. We started trying for the first time, and on our first try we actually did conceive, and then I lost that baby between like 4 to 5 weeks. So that was horrible, but at the same time I know that it was God's plan. Did you breastfeed? How long? And if so, was it difficult? And are there any tips to keep a steady flow? So yeah, I did breastfeed from the moment she came out. Because I was on that brim of gestational diabetes, she came out with low blood sugar. So we did have to supplement some formula. And that was only during the hospital stay. For like 2 days she had some supplement, and then I went to full-on breastfeeding. And I'm still breastfeeding. I'm starting to wean her, but I am still breastfeeding. And was it difficult for me? Not at all. I mean, I was very fortunate to have a baby that knew how to latch, and everything worked together within a day. And is there any tips of keeping a steady flow? Well, what I did was I started pumping as soon as I got home. Obviously, I would feed Kinsey straight from the breast every 2 hours, but I had like a lot of milk, so I kept on pumping, and some people worry about having an overflow or over amount, but I just kept it in the refrigerator, and she's still living off some of that when I'm not around. And a huge tip is drink water, not just when you're breastfeeding, but months before you give birth. My doctor put so much emphasis. My doctor put so much emphasis on drinking water by my second appointment, where I was only maybe 14 weeks along. He put so much emphasis. Seriously, drink as much water as you can. Nothing else. Okay, and what is your style and where do you shop? Well, now that I've become mom, I literally just wear shorts and like graphic tees every day. Every single day. That's all I wear. Sometimes I even trade it out and wear Nick shirts. Way too big. But it's life. And where do you shop for those things? Anywhere. I mean, like, seriously, I used to be really big on name brands and stuff, but now I've just outgrown that phase. And honestly, if I have extra money to shop at a boutique or something, it honestly always goes back to Kinsey. So now I'm just secure in the fact that my clothes don't really make me. Was the transition moving from California to Texas hard? For me personally, it wasn't, but I think it's also because I fully wanted to move to begin with, so I fully embraced it. And not only that, but Nick moved back out here with me too a month after I moved, so it wasn't like I was missing out on a best friend or anything, because he came right away and all my family moved as well. So it was super easy, and I just feel like I was mostly raised in a Southern household, so coming back to my roots, so to speak, was more than comforting. And the last question is, what's the hardest thing about being a mom? What's the hardest aspect of being a young couple? The hardest thing about being a mom for me is that your time is no longer your time. You know, like before you have a baby, honestly, you can take a nap whenever you want. You can take a shower whenever you want. You can do anything whenever you want. And then once you have a baby, it's definitely on their time. I'm not begrudging to that. It's just a harsh reality that you have to kind of get in the mindset that you are now on baby's time and baby's time only. And what is the hardest aspect of being a young couple? I think it's still keeping your youth, but at the same time balancing being an adult, worrying about budgets, worrying about your daughter, worrying about the future. Yeah. But I just think it's a natural instinct, especially when you do start your family, that you want the best for everybody, and you're definitely always on a time frame. So I think the hardest thing for me and Nick is balancing still being 22 and 23, but living life like we're 45 and 50. Okay, and another question I get asked a lot is, how much weight did I gain during my pregnancy, and how did I lose the weight so fast? And so during my pregnancy, I gained exactly 32 pounds. So I gave birth to her on the 3rd, checked in on the 3rd, and then I checked out on the 5th. And by the time I checked out on the 5th, I was back down to 112 pounds. And honest to God, I just have really good genes, I think. I mean, like, honestly, right when the baby came out, my stomach was gone too. And I think a big component of me losing the weight and keeping it off as well was that during my whole pregnancy, I would walk 3 to 4 miles a day. I mean, like, literally, I made it something that I had to do just for my own well-being, and because the doctors put a lot of emphasis on is if I could stay active, my labor would go by faster and quicker and easier, in which it did. But also breastfeeding alone, I'm telling you, it flattens you back out within a week. And then drinking all the water. Hi there. Drinking water nonstop. I didn't have any caffeine. I didn't have any sugary products. I think that was a huge help as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe and put on that notification bell so you're the first to know when we post again. And thank you again for watching and sending in questions. Let your faith be as big as Texas. Bye.